everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon and this is a channel that is dedicated to all things related to narcissism. I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on all types of topics related to narcissism. So if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. I would really appreciate it if you gave the video a thumbs up. It's a free way you can help me out. And definitely don't forget to leave a comment because I like to read what you have to say. So when I was around 16, I was once babysitting with my cousin. The family we were babysitting for had just put a sizable addition on their house. Now I'd babysat for this family alone before, but it was really my cousin's job. And the large addition made the house unfamiliar to me. The kids and their dog were really shy, and basically they would just hide upstairs the entire time. So this night, it was just the two of us talking and hanging out. Well, suddenly, without warning, the power went out. And as the minutes ticked on and the power stayed off, we gradually began getting fearful. Outside, the house was surrounded by trees, and it was raining and windy. The next thing you know, we swore we could hear strange noises. The branches made moving shadows on the floor with the little moonlight that was visible. And after a while, we were absolutely convinced we were about to be murdered. We were holding on to each other, peeking out the windows. Somebody was watching us, we were certain. They were waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. How sad for us. We were never going to get married or have kids of our own. We just held each other, waiting to be victims of some horrible fate. Today, that story is laughable. We were just two teenagers with very active imaginations. You know, when I think about it today, we had no thought. We literally gave no thought to saving ourselves or the kids in our charge. You know, we laugh about this today. There was never some bad guy, some crazy person, some monster out to get us. Not that night. Today's video is about monsters. Are narcissists monsters? And I mean that literally, not just figuratively. Are they actually monsters? When I think of who a monster is, what a monster is, I don't think of something human. I think of a creature, something obvious and grotesque, something deformed and visually repulsive. When my daughter was 5, we went to Walt Disney World, and that first morning, when we first entered the park and she saw Cinderella's castle, she turned to me and she said, "Mommy, is this real?" Excitement and hope beamed out of her eyes. And at that point, things like magic and Santa Claus were very real to her. And I said, yes, this is real. And I wanted it to be real to her. I didn't want anything bad in her life ever. Monsters were pure fantasy then. If she had asked me that question, "Mommy, are monsters real?" I would have said, no, honey, of course not. And I would have believed that. But some giant troll dragging a club isn't the only type of monster. A monster has a definition. It's somebody who's cruel, frightening, or evil. One who inspires horror or disgust. And sometimes that grotesque part is on the inside. You can't see it, but it's there. It's real. It exists. And when it came to my daughter, when it came to me, there was a monster walking right beside us, pushing my son in a stroller. There have been a few horrific crime stories that have changed the way that I live my life, that have changed my feeling of safety in the world. I'll tell you about 2 of them. Do you know of the Pettit family in Connecticut? This happened in 2007. There was a family. It was two daughters, a mom and a dad. And the younger daughter and the mother happened to go grocery shopping one night, and they had the very bad luck of running into a very evil person. They ran into a monster. Now, they never even saw this person, but he saw them. And this man was attracted to this 11-year-old girl, the little girl, and he followed them when they left the store. He saw where they lived, and he met a friend of his later that night, and they decided to rob this family. So they broke into the house, but they didn't need to actually break in. They walked in because there was an open basement door. I think it was the bulkhead. It was open. Something was open, and they were able to walk right in. Right in the basement, they found a baseball bat, and they hit the father who was sleeping on the couch. They beat him up, and they tied him down to downstairs in the basement. Then they went through the house and they found the mother and the 11-year-old, and there was another daughter too, a 17-year-old. And they tied them to their beds and they tormented them for hours. And towards the morning, when it was early in the morning, they decided that what they were going to do was they were going to have the mother go to the bank. They found a bank book in the father's desk, and it had several $1,000s in it, I think 10,000, something like that. And so they told the mother, all right, you're gonna go to the bank with us when it opens, and you're gonna withdraw this money and give it to us, and we'll leave. Well, they had the two men. One of the men stayed at the house with the two girls. Now, the mother didn't know what was going on because everybody had been separated. She didn't know if her husband was dead or alive, where he was, what was happening to her daughters. So she went to the bank with one of the men. On the way to the bank, this guy stopped at a gas station, and he filled up a tank, like a little container with gasoline. And he drove to the bank. She went in. And while she was in the bank, she told somebody there what was happening. And then she got back in the car with the guy, went back to her house. Back at the house, now the police were called, but what they did was they set a perimeter up. They didn't barge into the house. They set a perimeter up. These guys in the house ended up raping the 11-year-old and the mother. They set everybody on fire. Now, the father had been down in the basement. He was just basically ignored. He was tied up. They left him for dead. They killed the mother. One of the guys killed the mother. He raped her, strangled her. The two girls, tied to their beds, were burned alive. The police didn't do anything until the house was already on fire, and at that point it was too late to save anybody. Horror. The father ended up getting out. He had been unconscious, and when the fire started in the house, he somehow untied himself, and he literally rolled through the yard to his neighbor's house, screaming to get help. It was too late. They were all dead. Everybody, the three of them, gone. It was a horrific story, and it's a story that stayed with me. Now, at the time, in 2007, when this first happened, when I first heard about it that night, it was in the summer. I was at Cape Cod when it happened. I was on vacation. I was at my in-laws' house, and they didn't lock their doors. And I was so afraid when I saw that, when I heard this story. And then I couldn't sleep with unlocked doors anymore. And I was afraid. And I absorbed every little detail of this case. And I changed things because I heard what had happened. Okay, the door was unlocked. Well, I'm never going to have an unlocked door in my house. Geez, if only they had had a dog. If they had had a dog, everything would be all right. I had a dog. I was going to be all right because I had a dog. Or if they had a weapon. Why didn't they have a weapon? Oh my gosh, if they had a weapon, everything would have been okay. I have 2 guns. So I had this false sense of security. No monster could hurt me. I have everything that they didn't have. I'm going to be okay. My life is different. This isn't going to happen to me. No monster is going to attack my family. Do you know about the Yosemite case? This happened in California in 1999. I actually lived in California when this happened, and it was horrible. It was terrible. There was a woman who went on she had her and her daughter, her 16-year-old daughter. Actually her daughter was 15, but she had a 16-year-old friend from Argentina, an exchange student visiting them. They lived in Northern California, and the 3 of them went to Yosemite. They spent some time there to show the exchange student a little bit about California. So they're at this hotel, and there was a guy that worked at the hotel, a handyman, and he noticed them, and he noticed that there was no man with them. And he thought, and this is a man who had always wanted to harm women, like it was just like a fantasy that he had. And here he is, and he sees these 3 vulnerable women, alone, no man, and he thought, I'm going to strike. So he went to the door of their hotel room, and he said, hi, I'm a handyman here, and your shower is leaking into the room below you, so I need to come in and check it out. And the mother was suspicious, and she didn't want to let him in. But he said, no, really, I work here, and he had some badge or whatever and showed that, yes, indeed, he did work here. So she let him in. And when he came in, all of a sudden, he had a gun. And he killed the mother, strangled her, killed the exchange student. He took the woman's daughter, raped her, and tortured her throughout the whole rest of the night. Then he drove around with her mother in the trunk of the car, her friend in the trunk of the car, and he drove around with this girl, this teenager. He then brought her up to the top of this hill, this little mountain, slit her throat, and left her there. These stories horrified me. They changed me. It made me untrusting of strangers. I had vowed right then, if I'm at a hotel, if I'm somewhere and I'm alone, or if it's just me and some other woman, or there's no man there, I'll never let somebody in the room. This won't happen to me. I'll be safe. I had this false sense of security because I learned from these stories. We focus on strangers. We lock doors and we carry mace. But everyone knows that if somebody is murdered or kidnapped, overwhelmingly the odds are that it is not a stranger. Shanann Watts is my hero. The reason she's my hero is because her death saved my life, and I mean that. I didn't know what narcissism was. I had no idea until she died. And then this story became national news. And I'm reading about it and I'm learning about it. And when I first heard the story, I thought nothing. I thought, oh, that's too bad. That's all that I thought about it. It was just some other story. It was somebody that I didn't know. And then I started hearing about it. And I recognized her husband. I saw my husband in him. And it unnerved me. It scared me, actually. I thought, what? How is this possible? And then things that my ex has done, the way that he treated me, I recognized narcissism. That was how I first heard about it. I didn't know what it was before. I thought I was all alone in this. I didn't know. I had no idea. And this is what happens to so many of us. We don't know what narcissism is. We suffer silently, believing that it's just us who has this problem. We don't know, but that in actuality, we're living with a monster, that there's something evil in our presence. It's not a stranger that we have to worry about. It's who's living in our house with us. One of Shanann Watts' last social media posts was about her daughters, and she said, I wish I could just wrap them in bubble wrap and protect them from the cruelty of the world. She had no idea, none, just like I didn't, just like you didn't, that it's not so much bad guys or bad women we need to worry about. There aren't an overwhelming amount of them slinking around in random backyards, waiting for the power to go out so they can scare two silly teenage girls. We need to worry about monsters, because monsters are real. They exist. We can use the term monster colloquially, modernly, but I use it literally. If we were talking to the family and friends of the Pettit women, or the family and friends of the Yosemite killer, they would tell you monsters are real. Likewise, ask any of us who have experienced what a narcissist can unleash in your life, and we can say the same thing. Ogres might not be real, but if they were real, you could identify them easily and stay away. Part of what makes a narcissist a monster is how well they hide their ugliness. If I have a pimple and I cover it up, I'm not trying to fool you into believing I'm someone I'm not. A narcissist is doing that. They manipulate, they provoke you, they entice you. They want to hurt you. It's fun for them. They get pleasure out of hurting you, hurting your children. We spend so much time and money on keeping ourselves from evil, from monsters. I had an alarm system, dogs, guns. But all this time, while I believed I was keeping monsters away, what I was actually doing was locking myself in with one. I was standing at the altar with one. I was having children with one. So many of you have shared agony with me, pain and trauma that lingers way beyond the expiration date of the entanglement. These vile creatures drive people to suicide. They empty bank accounts. They torture their own children without guilt, with abandon. How many of us have seen lifeless eyes vacantly boring into us? You can feel the heaviness of hate, the monstrosity that is the narcissist. So many of us struggle to free ourselves because monsters don't stop tormenting. They have to be stopped. They take pleasure in our pain. How is something like that not a monster? And I'm going to tell you what I learned the hard way, but what ultimately is the only way that you will be free. Don't wait for somebody to save you. Be the hero of your own life. When I think back to that night with my cousin, and here we are, silly little girls waiting to be murdered, that's what a lot of us do. I mean, it's funny today when I think about it, but it's not funny when it's really happening today, right now, to so many of us. Because that's essentially what we're doing. We're waiting to be victimized. We know who this thing is, this person is, what they're capable of doing, and we still wait and we hope it's going to get better. And we hope that just somehow, miraculously, it ends. It's never going to end unless you take action. Massive action. You have to save yourself. Monsters are real. They're very real, but you can also really get rid of them. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm very grateful to everybody who watches my videos. I hope that my videos help. I have been through everything with a narcissist, and I really want to help people get out. I find it an incredible blessing that I've been able to get away from my narcissist, because I didn't believe that I ever would be able to. And truly, if I can do it, so can you. I believe in you. I know you can do this. Keep going. Don't be afraid. A narcissist is beatable. God bless all of you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in Wednesday's video.